Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Please be seated.
Hooray! Stand up! Eat! Stand! Easy!
Captain Hutchison, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're gathered tonight on the traditional territory of the Kosamson and the Swangangan people of the Swangese and Esquimalt nations. In addition to the participants, there are several distinguished guests that I have the honor to introduce. Please welcome them after I've presented all of them to you. Member of Parliament for Esquimalt Saanich Sooke, Mr. Randall Garrison. The member of the British Columbia Legislature for Esquimalt the Chosen, the Honorable Mitzi Dean, Minister of Children and Family Development. Representing the Corporation of the Township of Esquimalt, Acting Mayor Linda Humbleby. Representing the Municipality of Colwood, His Worship Mayor Rob Martin. Representing the Town of View Royal, His Worship Mayor David Screech. The Base Commander, Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt, Captain Jeff Hutchison. Founding member of the Canadian Peacekeeping Veterans Association, Mr. Jim McMillan Murphy, and current president of the BC chapter. Founding member of the Canadian Peacekeeping Veterans Association, Mr. Ed Wigenham. President, Peacekeepers British Columbia Society, Mr. Tony Speece. Sheila and Sean Fines, Silver Cross parents of Corporal Stuart Langridge, whose service ended his life. Also, the Brigadier General Ashton Armory Museum is represented by retired Chief Petty Officer, 2nd Class Chris Preston. Mr. Preston was on duty in Ismailia, Egypt, when the ill-fated Buffalo aircraft departed, never to return. We also welcome the senior representatives of several other veteran service groups who are here tonight. Now, with greetings on behalf of the Canadian Parliament and the House of Commons, please welcome Member of Parliament for Esquimalt Saanich Sooke, Mr. Randall Garrison.
Well, good evening, everyone. I want to extend special thanks to Terry Patch, who does such a wonderful job in emceeing these events all the time. He says he just gets out his notes from previous years, but I don't believe that. I also want to thank the base commander and all of his team for still facilitating tonight, and in particular the BC chapter of the Canadian Peacekeeping Veterans Association, and in particular my friend Jim McMillan Murphy, who makes sure that this happens every year. And I also want to thank all the rest of you for being here. It's a bit of a different start with the music in the park and this event kind of overlapping. Tonight, it's my honor to bring greetings from the federal parliament, and I'm proud to be here as a representative of the government of Canada. This is one of the few public events that managed to maintain its continuity throughout the pandemic. And though we have seen changes, including change of venue, myself, I'm quite happy to see this event taking place here in Esquimalt, where the community has been so strongly supportive of both Canadian forces in general and of peacekeeping. When I spoke here last year, it was on the eve of an election, so I do want to take a moment just to thank the voters for giving me an opportunity to continue to work with Canadian forces nationally and locally with the base and the members of the Navy here. When I think back a year ago, I remember calling for a renewed commitment on the part of Canada to international peacekeeping in the face of what we all viewed as an increasingly unstable and dangerous world. Little did we know last year how justified those fears would be. Whether it's the outbreak of war in Europe as a result of Russian aggression, or the recent saber-rattling of China against an independent Taiwan, we now have that confirmation of just how dangerous and unstable our world has become. It's my fervent hope that in the case of Ukraine, the brave resistance of the Ukrainian nation and the firm support of its allies will soon bring Russia to a peace table. And the result will be some form of international peacekeeping mission which can separate the two forces in the conflict and bring about a peace in the short term while the international community addresses the larger issues. Now more than ever, the world needs nations ready to step up and heed the call when the time comes. Nations like Canada with our proud history of peacekeeping, which we honor here tonight. And nations like Canada with both the capacity and the vision necessary to lead and staff peacekeeping missions, which are sure to come in the future. More than 125,000 Canadians have served on more than 50 UN peacekeeping missions since 1956. And on this day each year, we pause on this day that marks the largest loss of life in a single day of Canadian peacekeepers. Remembering the more than 120 Canadians who've never returned home from those missions should be a constant reminder that keeping the peace does come at a high cost for those who serve. But tonight, once again, I would also like us to honor not just those who gave their lives, but all those who served in the cause of peace. And tonight, let's also remember the sacrifice of the families who supported them, especially those families who lost loved ones. As well, let's remember the many friends and comrades in the Canadian Forces whose friends didn't come home from those missions. And finally, let's not forget the many who returned to challenges left by injuries resulting from their service, whether those injuries be visible or invisible. But honoring sacrifice and service tonight should also call us all to support actions which will renew Canada's commitment to play a major role in international peacekeeping once again. And it should call all of us to do more to make sure that members of the Canadian Forces have the equipment, training, and support they need to do the difficult and dangerous work we ask them to do each and every day on our behalf. So tonight, let's remember those 9 peacekeepers who died on this day, August 9, 1974. Let's honor and remember all the more than 120 Canadians who died while serving on UN peacekeeping operations. But let's also remember and honor all those who bravely served. May their stories of honor, courage, and sacrifice long be retold and never be forgotten. Thank you.
The Honourable Premier of British Columbia, Mr. Hogan, sends his regards. In his place, on behalf of the Province of British Columbia and the Legislative Assembly, the Honourable Mitzi Dean, MLA of Esquimalt and Chosen. She is Minister of Children and Family Development.
Thank you so much. It's a real honour to be here with you all this evening. I'm here on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and I'm very honoured and blessed to be able to do my work here. As the MLA for Esquimalt and Chosen, I know our community is full of people committed to service and people who are members of the military family that is spread out throughout our community, and that includes peacekeepers. And today we're here to honour and remember and show our appreciation for the really, really important work of peacekeeping around the globe. As my friend and colleague MP Randall Garrison has very well been describing for us, at this time, and surprisingly, it's needed more than ever. We cannot become complacent and think that we have achieved the peace that we know that we want to. And we are so fortunate here in our community to be supported for our military personnel and the service that they provide around the globe. And I really want to thank all of the families. I know how challenging and demanding it can be to be a military family and to support your military members, and we thank you. We wouldn't have the service without your families. And thank you for supporting each other and taking care of each other when you're doing such difficult, demanding and dangerous work. It is important to remember those who don't come home and who haven't come home, and to also show our appreciation and gratitude for everybody who is working so hard and taking care of each other in whatever field they're in. I want to say thank you to everybody who brings us together to take care of each other and to commemorate every year. And thank you to the members here on the base and to the captain for being such great community members and supporting our community as well. So I appreciate you all coming this evening, and thank you.
The Commander of Maritime Forces Pacific is away, leading operations in RIMPAC. He sends his regrets, but in his place, the Commander of Canadian Forces Base Esquimalt is here, and our guest joined the Canadian Forces in 1991, earned a Bachelor of Arts in History degree at Royal Military College before completing his basic naval officer training and qualifying as a naval warfare officer. He has served at sea in 6 of Her Majesty's ships as navigator, operations officer, weapons officer, combat officer, executive officer, and commanding officer. His shore appointments include Squadron Commander at Royal Military College, Director Defense Program Acquisitions, and Director Naval Strategic Management. So please welcome Captain Jeffrey Hutchinson.
I just find that always very awkward. So thank you for sitting through it. So yes, Base Commander, Captain Navy Jeff Hutchinson. Again, I'd like to reiterate my thanks to the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and the Esquimalt, acknowledging their historic relationship with this land, a relationship that continues to this day. So over the years, peacekeeping has become deeply entwined with the Canadian identity. We identify ourselves as peacekeepers and are seen as such on the international stage. As far back as the 1950s, Canada has been involved with peace operations, and since then, more than 125,000 Canadian Armed Forces members have served in this manner around the world. So as I took the time to reflect on peacekeeping, it occurred to me that there is a certain drive that has to be inherent in you in order to become a member of the Canadian Armed Forces and decide to serve your country. And when you're defending Canadian ideals, when you're defending the nation, that's one mental switch, one driver. To those of you, the peacekeepers, there's a whole next level that is asked of you, and you rose to that occasion, where you needed to stand up for the ideals of an international order, to ensure that countries that at times may not have been kind to each other, were able to keep the peace and move forward so that we could live in a better world. And I thank you for that. It's a big commitment. We were reminded recently of how much of a commitment that really is. United Nations peacekeepers from partner nations were killed in recent weeks in the Eastern Congo. This highlights the real risk and sacrifice associated with peace operations that our members endured. Those 9 members who paid the ultimate sacrifice on this day in 1974, that's an incident that remains the single largest loss of life in Canadian peacekeeping for Canada. Today we're here to remember them and their sacrifice, along with the 120 Canadian peacekeepers who have died defending world peace. We're here to honor all of our peacekeeping veterans and thank them for all that they have done. We will remember them.
Entering service in 1964, the CC-115 Buffalo aircraft served Canada and the world for 55 years, first providing tactical transport, and since 1975, the aircraft has been central to thousands of searches and associated rescues throughout Western Canada and in the ocean approaches, launching from 19-wing Comox with 442 Transport and Rescue Squadron. The last operational flight for the Buffalo was on January 15th this year, and the Buff will soon be replaced by the CC-295 Kingfisher. Now, during this ceremony, a CH-148 Cyclone helicopter of the 443 Maritime Helicopter Squadron will fly past and salute. The aircraft pilot is Major Danielle Shea. Now, Padre Major, the Reverend Daniel Walton, leads us in prayer. Those who are present and are so inclined are invited to remove headdress. Prayer will be followed by the last post, silence, brows, the act of remembrance.
I invite you to pray with me this evening if prayer was part of your practice and tradition. If it's not part of your practice, I would encourage you to take this time for silent reflection. Je vous invite à prier avec moi ce soir si la prière fait partie de vos pratiques et de vos traditions. Si ce n'est pas le cas, je vous encourage à profiter de ce moment pour prendre un moment de réflexion silencieuse. God, we humble ourselves this evening as we remember and honor our members who have served before us. We remember their sacrifice and dedication to our country and their willingness to assist others. Encouragez ceux qui servent aujourd'hui, protégez-les des images, des sons et des odeurs qui leur causent des souffrances et des souvenirs qui ne peuvent être effacés ou oubliés. Strengthen them in the task at hand, both at home and abroad. May each of them be comforted in a special way. We give thanks for their families and friends who have supported them during times of service. We recognize the sacrifices they have made to make peacekeeping efforts possible. We recognize the celebrations and milestones that have been missed with their families, but they have done what was necessary to make our world a safer and happier place to be. We pray all people involved in peacekeeping missions would be kept safe. We pray for their spirits to be lifted when the day is long and the work feels heavy and burdens them down. May each of them be encouraged from afar. We pray for protection for their memories and experiences. We pray they would be comforted when needed. Tout comme nous servons avec des mouvements. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for our last words to Retired Chief Petty Officer Second Class Chris Preston was on duty in Ismailia, Egypt, when the ill-fated Buffalo aircraft departed. He received the first report of the tragedy at UN headquarters in Ismailia. He will now read the Act of Remembrance.
They shall not grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Important to this event is the very special participation of those who presently serve. Now here with the commitment to remember is Sailor Second Class Kian Kamiabi Poor.
They were young as we were young. They served giving freely of themselves. To them, we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been the practice at this ceremony to read out the names of those service personnel who died on peacekeeping and peace enforcement duties since 1947. But because there are now more than 300 names on the list, when you include the fatalities in Afghanistan, we have highlighted the fatalities since last August 9th, and it has not necessarily been limited to deaths in operations. The annual toll has been as short as a dozen or one, and in recent years the page has been blank. And while that is a condition to be rejoiced, it has done not lessen the losses of the past. We're also mindful of those whose experience is complicit in their subsequently death, or whose service was cut short regardless of the cause, no matter their mission or their service at home or abroad. And such is the case this year. We're saddened by the loss of Royal Military College cadets Andre Hansio, Jack Hogarth, Andre Selleck, and Broden Murphy, as well as Private Connor James Beck of the Lawrence Scots Regiment of Brampton, Ontario, who died in a training exercise. Now, since 1921, the poppy has been recognized as a symbol of remembrance, and to mark the sacrifice of all those who lost their lives in the service of peace and their family, members of Parliament, Mr. Garrison, members of the Legislative Assembly, Captain Hutchison, Silver Cross parents, retired Lieutenant Colonel Paul Payon, retired Master Warrant Officer Chris Preston, the municipal representatives and the Veterans Organization representatives will each place a poppy on the wreath that is set at the cenotaph that displays the names of those who perished when UN Flight 51 was shot down. Please come forward at any time. There's a supply of poppies there if you don't have one, or if you're wearing one, you may use that one as well. Anyone else who would like to participate in this is certainly welcome to do so. Canadians are a peace-loving people. Occasionally, we have been forced to take up arms in defense of our independence, way of life, and ideals. Canadian involvement in 2 world wars, Korea, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, and currently in the Middle East, Eastern Europe, supporting NATO and Ukraine, Kosovo, Sudan, Cyprus, Congo, the Koreas, and the South China Sea, demonstrates that events overseas pose a threat to our well-being. Canada's place in the world is determined by our willingness to engage in the world, by stepping forward to bring Canadian values, courage, and pragmatism to places in need. That is the legacy of those we honor tonight. Annual commemorations are not only an opportunity to remember, thank, honor, and celebrate the lives of all those who have served Canada in uniform, it's also an opportunity to teach our youth about the contributions and sacrifices of our veterans. Veterans of the First World War have passed into history. The veterans of the Second World War and the Korean conflict are in the winter of their lives. It therefore falls to us. As we have poignantly heard this evening, the sacrifice continues. And though the somber aspects of remembrance cannot be forgotten, it's important that we also celebrate the accomplishments of our veterans as part of the Canadian way. The Second World War ended 77 years ago. Earlier, during World War I, the war that was to end all war, soldier, physician, poet John McCrae gave voice to all those who had perished in the service of their country. Now, how do we respond to the final verse that is represented on this cenotaph? To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. Each of us can defend Canada and our democracy every day simply by being responsible citizens, by contributing as we're able to improve the lives of all Canadians, exercising our right to vote when the occasion arises, by accepting jury duty, by contributing as we're able, by taking personal responsibility, protecting the environment, and just by taking an interest in what our forces, men and women, are doing around the world, and by being informed citizens, we all contribute to the defense of Canada and contribute to maintaining the peace, order, and good government with the freedoms we enjoy just by acknowledging their service and being part of it. Today, Canadians have life for the choosing because of the sacrifice of tens of thousands of men and women who fought to establish the conditions that cause millions around the world who want to share in our democracy. Thank you for your presence and your attention this evening. That is the conclusion of the Peacekeeping Memorial Day ceremony. On behalf of the Canadian Peacekeeping Veterans Association and all peacekeeping veterans, we give thanks to the next of kin, to all those who perished serving Canada, the Government of Canada and Veterans Affairs Canada, the Province of British Columbia for the leadership role in recognizing peacekeepers, the Commander Maritime Forces Pacific for his support and the support of participating units under his command, particularly the base commander and the office of the base chief petty officer, the commanding officer of 443 Maritime Helicopter Squadron for the fly past, Pipe Major Stephen Kelly of 443 Maritime Helicopter Squadron Pipe Band, who allowed Piper Ringrose to be here this evening, the Township of Esquimalt, the City of Victoria, the municipalities of Colwood, and the Town of New Royal for their support and participation. The Brigadier General Ashton Armory Museum team that brought the vintage military vehicles, some in United Nations livery, that you'll be able to inspect in the parking lot behind the Tudor House. Now the ceremony ends with the Royal Anthem. Please stand and remain standing for the playing of God Save the Queen, preceded by the base commander's departure salute.
Hooray! Up, hands, up!
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a safe journey home.